Sir, you're out of order.
Out of order? I show you out of order. You don't know what out of order is, Mr. Trash.
The most romantic dance scene in cinema history left one actor with lifelong pain. Jack Nicholson walked away from the role that would win Pacino his only Oscar. And Al was so dedicated to his method acting that crew members often forgot he wasn't blind. These 10 facts will make you see this Oscar-winning masterpiece as a whole new movie. Fact number 1. Al Pacino crushed Gabrielle Anwar's toes during the iconic tango. The legendary tango scene between Pacino and Anwar looks effortlessly romantic on screen, but filming it was a painful nightmare. Anwar still winces when she talks about those 3 days of shooting because Pacino, playing a blind man who's supposed to be an expert dancer, kept accidentally smashing her toes with every step. The irony is incredible. Pacino's character brags about being a great dancer, but the actor himself was struggling to lead while pretending to be blind. Every elegant move you see on screen came at the cost of Anwar's feet getting crushed repeatedly. She later said she still has sore toes decades later from those brutal rehearsals and takes. Fact number 2. Jack Nicholson rejected the role that won Pacino his only Oscar. Here's one of Hollywood's biggest what-if stories. Jack Nicholson was originally offered the role of Lieutenant Colonel Frank Slade, but he read the script and immediately passed. This was 1991, right after Nicholson had dominated the 80s with iconic performances, and he decided he didn't want to play a blind, bitter military man. This role became Al Pacino's career-defining performance and won him his first and only Academy Award after 8 previous nominations. Nicholson essentially handed Pacino the Oscar that had eluded him for decades. Imagine Nicholson delivering Hua instead of Pacino. It would have been a completely different movie. Nicholson's loss became Pacino's greatest triumph. Fact number 3. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck auditioned against each other. Before they became writing partners and best friends, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were competitors fighting for the same role in Scent of a Woman. Along with Brendan Fraser, Chris Rock, Stephen Dorff, and other rising stars, both future Good Will Hunting writers auditioned for Charlie Sims, the prep school student who becomes Pacino's companion. The audition process was intense, with dozens of young actors vying for this career-making role opposite Al Pacino. Damon later remembered the experience as a cattle call where the whole cast went down to audition for it. Chris O'Donnell ultimately won the part in November 1991, but imagine how different film history would be if Damon or Affleck had gotten it instead. Missing out on Scent of a Woman probably pushed them toward writing their own material, which became Good Will Hunting. Fact number 4. Pacino learned to be blind from blind veterans. Al Pacino's preparation for playing a blind colonel was so intense it bordered on method acting madness. He spent weeks training with the Associated Blind Organization in New York, specifically focusing on veterans who had lost their sight due to combat trauma, just like his character. Pacino learned every tiny detail of the blind experience, from how to pour liquid without spilling to how to light a cigar without burning himself. He studied the entire progression of losing sight, the psychological stages, the physical adaptations, the emotional journey. His technique for appearing blind was to never let his eyes focus on anything, creating that distant, unseeing gaze. The performance that won him an Oscar was built on months of studying real people's pain and adapting their survival techniques. Fact number 5. The Ferrari scene was dangerous and real. The famous Ferrari scene where blind Colonel Slade speeds through New York traffic was extremely dangerous stunt work that put everyone at risk. Pacino, playing a character who couldn't see, was driving a 1989 Ferrari Mondial T Cabriolet through Manhattan streets at high speeds while Chris O'Donnell shouted directions. The production called in stunt cars to make sure Pacino wouldn't get hit during the street crossing scenes, but the driving was very real. Director Martin Brest recalled having to trust the stunt drivers because you have to commit when you cross. You can't hesitate. You have to leave your fate with the drivers. Fact number 6. The film is actually a remake of an Italian movie. Most people don't realize that Scent of a Woman is actually an American remake of a 1974 Italian film called Profumo di Donna, starring Vittorio Gassman. The original Italian version won the Best Actor award at Cannes and was considered a masterpiece of European cinema. Hollywood took this intimate Italian character and transformed it into an American Oscar winner, but the core story remained the same. a young man caring for a bitter, blind military officer. The tango scene, the suicide subplot, and even the prep school setting were all adaptations of the original Italian film. It's wild that one of America's most beloved dramas is actually a foreign film remake that most audiences never knew existed. Fact number 7. Pacino refused to let his eyes focus on anything. Al Pacino's technique for playing blind was so convincing it fooled even the crew members who worked with him daily. His secret? He trained himself to never let his eyes focus on anything throughout filming, creating that distinctive, distant, unseeing gaze that made his blindness believable. It was a physical discipline that Pacino maintained for months. Even between takes, he would practice keeping his eyes unfocused, essentially teaching himself to see without seeing. The Lighthouse School for the Blind taught him specific techniques, such as how to locate a chair and seat himself, how to navigate spaces through sound, and how to perform daily tasks without sight. He was so committed that people on set sometimes forgot he could actually see. Method acting can be extreme, involving the voluntary disabling of one of your senses for the sake of your art. Fact number 8. The tango took 2 weeks of rehearsal and 3 days to film. That gorgeous tango sequence that looks effortless on screen required 2 solid weeks of rehearsals followed by 3 grueling days of filming. Pacino and Gabrielle Anwar had to master not just the dance steps, but the specific challenge of one partner leading while pretending to be blind. The complexity was incredible. Pacino had to look like an expert dancer while also maintaining his character's blindness, never letting his eyes focus or appear to see his partner. Meanwhile, Anwar had to follow his lead while knowing he couldn't actually see where he was taking her. Every elegant turn and dip required precise choreography and perfect timing. The scene that takes just a few minutes on screen represents weeks of preparation and days of crushing feat. Fact number 9. Chris O'Donnell beat major stars for the role. Chris O'Donnell was relatively unknown when he won the role of Charlie Sims, beating out some of the biggest rising stars of the early 1990s. The competition included future A-listers like Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Brendan Fraser, and even Chris Rock, who was making his transition from comedy to dramatic acting. The casting process was brutal, with dozens of young actors auditioning for this career-making opportunity to work opposite Al Pacino. O'Donnell's win launched him into major stardom and led directly to his casting as Robin in the Batman films. Meanwhile, the actors who lost out went on to create their own Hollywood success stories. It's fascinating to imagine how different the film would have been with any of the other contenders. Each would have brought a completely different energy to the role opposite Pacino's powerhouse performance. Fact number 10. The director chose this over remaking Death Takes a Holiday. Director Martin Brest was offered 2 potential remake projects in 1991 and had to choose between them. Option 1 was Scent of a Woman, adapting the Italian film. Option 2 was remaking the 1934 classic Death Takes a Holiday, about death taking human form to understand mortality. Brest chose Scent of a Woman, and the decision shaped his entire career. The film won multiple Oscars and became a beloved classic. But here's the twist. 7 years later, he eventually made the other project anyway, turning it into Meet Joe Black starring Brad Pitt and Anthony Hopkins. So Brest got both films, but the delay meant completely different casts and a different era of filmmaking. His choice to make Scent of a Woman first gave Al Pacino his Oscar moment and created one of cinema's most quoted performances. And there you have it, 10 incredible facts proving that Scent of a Woman's behind-the-scenes story is just as dramatic as anything on screen. From crushed toes to dangerous driving, from rejected A-listers to method acting madness. Which fact amazed you the most? Let me know in the comments below, and if you love these Hollywood secrets, hit that subscribe button for more.